Hey, welcome back to Well, That's Interesting. The sounds like a lot is going on here edition. Today is episode 272. Let's talk about the prince who was mauled to death 27,000 years ago, and superkilonovas are a thing. And one may have popped off twice. My friends, I owe you an apology. If you're a long-time listener of the show, then you know, after staggering holes and parasites inside the human body, another favorite topic to cover is a damn good ancient burial. It has been a long minute since you and I dusted off some old bones and pondered what the hell happened here. Our last anthropological escapade took place back in November of last year. During episode 258, these smoked human remains are the oldest known mummies so far, and knife breaks off in man's chest. And he didn't notice for 8 years. Yeah, not only did we learn that, yes, a kitchen knife can remain inside the body without causing significant injury, but yeah, the pre-Neolithic peoples throughout southern China and Southeast Asia practiced a method of mummification that began 14,000 years ago and continued up until 4,000 years ago. For 10,000 years, that method involved months of meticulous doting on a recently deceased loved one over an open fire. If you haven't had a listen, you should. I, of course, went over that process in more detail, and we took a gander at the results, thanks to photos provided by researchers who made the discovery. Let's just say those results were sculptural masterpieces. Prior to 258, there was episode 229 and 231, way the fuck back in March and April of last year, where we talked about a 9,000-year-old shaman burial ground found under a German spa garden, and a curious case of cannibalism from 18,000 years ago, when 5 women, 3 men, and several children were practically shredded to bits. Now finally, today, in the first half of the show, we are revisiting a grave that stopped even the most seasoned archaeologists in their tracks. One specific grave belonging to a young man researchers have dubbed Il Principe, or the Prince. And that title was given thanks to the King Tut level of goods found around and on his person. We will meet the original team that found the boy. We will run down a partial list of what he was buried with, which is still enormous. After peeling away all those luxurious goods, we will look at and run through his list of injuries, which happens to be a lot longer. We will meet the modern team, who use modern medical tools to diagnose the cause of death, and we will meet the people the boy belonged to, all to try and understand why he ended up this way. Then after the break, girl, you know we can't go more than a week or two without talking about space, thanks to the avalanche of research being pumped from cutting-edge telescopes around the world. And all that research has a common theme running throughout it. The universe is fucking weird. It is wild. And if you thought it was hard to comprehend before, oh, Jesus, strap the hell in. Case in point, kilonovas. Now, I have never heard of them up until 5 minutes ago, and I'm assuming you haven't either. Long, billions of years, long story short, a kilonova is a type of cataclysmic explosion that occurs when a pair of dueling neutron stars, orbiting one another, finally end their deathly dance and smash together. Only one kilonova has been confirmed to date, and we will get to it, including a refresher into how neutron stars form. That will be our tasty intro to a brand new type of explosion, superkilonovas. Back on August 18th, 2025, the twin detectors of LIGO in Louisiana and Washington, as well as Virgo in Italy, picked up a brand spanking new gravitational wave rippling through space thanks to what appeared to be a merger between 2 objects. The light created at first burned red, and then a few days later burned blue. This colorful evidence made most astronomers from around the world convinced that the gravitational wave was from no merger but a classic supernova. Most, but not all. We will meet the team who put their hands on their hips and said, y'all, supernova from distant galaxies are generally not expected to generate enough gravitational waves to be detected by LIGO and Virgo, whereas kilonova are, so we're pretty sure kilonova was at play here somehow. We just have to prove it. We will run through the colossal set of data the team poured through, and we will stand before a new theory that will blow your mind, literally. What if this event was a combination of a supernova and a kilonova, creating a superkilonova? Needless to say, that's a first. We will get to it all. But in the meantime, hi, I'm Jill Chacha, and if this is your first time listening, welcome to the flock, my booming business goose. To begin, I'm going to need you to get in the habit of keeping your carabiners and headlamps within reaching distance because yet again, you and I will be scaling a cave. Now, I see that horrified look on your face, and rightfully so. It was in caves where we gazed upon things like the world's largest spider web, but where we are, and when we are right now, there are 0 spiders. There are a lot of bodies, however. So please, join me, will you, snug as a bug in a rug in our time machine as I dial it way the fuck back to the year 1942, and as we land within an archaeological site located in Finale Ligure. And for my fellow geographically challenged Americans who are like, hey, that kind of sounds Italian, you're right. We are in Italy. But where exactly? Please imagine the boot. Thank you. Point to the very top left corner and extend the coast just a little bit more to the left. Perfect. Consider this newly created line the Riviera of Italy, as it overlooks the Gulf of Genoa, a sea of bright blue waters lapping against white sand beaches. Finale Ligure is located in the far southwest, right by a steep limestone mountain that, in more modern times, is easily overlooked by the town's lively commercial district, a boardwalk lined with palm trees and restaurants with open-air dining rooms. But in the early 1940s, it was that mountain that garnered all the attention, thanks to a very specific hole. And what I mean by that is an entrance to a cave. Although it was first discovered in 1864, it wasn't until 1942 when Luigi Bernabo Bray, Luigi Cardini, and Virginia Chiapella told the Nazis to go fuck themselves and decided nothing would stop them from beginning excavations. Thanks to their determination and hot-for-bones drive, we now have an archaeological treasure trove called the Arena Candide Cave, one of the most important archaeological sites in the Western Mediterranean. Thanks to its environmental conditions, the cave revealed itself to be a devotional burial plot used by the peoples of the Paleolithic era, or Old Stone Age, a fantastic range of time that spanned 3.3 million to 10,000 years ago. Overall, 19 Paleolithic burial pits were found by the team, and by 2026, we will have learned that this cave is also home to more than 100 Neolithic burials from 10,000 to 2,000 years ago. But I am getting way ahead of myself. Today, in May of 1942, under the direction of Luigi Bernabo Brea and his various hand gestures, the researchers found themselves 23 feet below the surface. It was here various other hands brushed away layers of red, brightly painted dirt, one of the signs that the Paleolithic people used to signal that a body lay underneath. Once again, the team was correct. There was a body, but it was unlike anything they'd seen so far. Please, drop whatever body you're holding right now and pick up your phone. Head on over to today's post on the old socials and swipe past the historical photo of the Arena Candide Cave. In the next 3 photos, you'll see who the team named Il Principe, or the Prince, and most of what he was buried with. I will give you a second to take that all in. Okay, I bet you have some questions like, why is his skeleton red? What's that pile on top of his skull, and what are the trinkets around him? And am I crazy, or is he missing part of his jaw? Great questions, my living business goose. I am so glad you noticed. What we are looking at is the prince's final resting place in the Museum of Genoa, and it's nearly an exact snapshot of how the boy was found by the team. Put a pin in that, we will get to it. In the meantime, to explain what's going on here and to answer some of your questions, let's go directly to the source. The Museo Archeologico del Fenile, located in Finale Ligure. I nailed that. Their website has a page dedicated to the boy, estimated to be approximately 15 to 16 years old. And translated from Italian, it says, quote, "The skeleton lies in a supine position or on his back, with his skull turned to the left. He was probably more than 170 centimeters or 5.5 feet tall. Above his head, there are many small pierced shells, probably belonging to what remains of a hat that fell once the organic material deteriorated. Around his neck bones, there is still what remains of a necklace consisting of a row of small shells, all of the same kind, that end with a cypress shell, a larger shell that was frequently linked to female fertility. The right arm leans on the hip, and the hand bones still hold a large French flint blade. The blade is only 1 centimeter thick, and it doesn't present traces of use. It could likely be that it was made specifically as a grave good. The left arm is lying along the body and shows, around the wrist, what remains of a pierced shell bracelet that had a mammoth ivory pendant. This pendant represents a stylized female figure, extremely similar to the famous Petersfels Venus from southern Germany, and is one of the numerous Paleolithic statues called Venuses that are generally represented as pregnant female figures and are universally linked to the symbol of fertility, abundance, and life. At the knees, on the sides, there are 2 bone pendants that probably belong to shoes or to be a piece of clothing. At the time of the burial, a subtle layer of red ochre pigment was placed over the body, and after decomposition, it deposited onto the bones and thus giving the skeleton a red hue. Around the chest, there were 4 pierced objects made from portions of elk antlers that had small linear decorative engravings that the boy was probably wearing on his shoulder during the burial. Those tools are extremely rare and have an unknown function. They are, however, frequently linked with the activity of straightening arrow points and spears for hunting. Of such objects, extremely rare and of peculiar shape, only 20 examples exist in Europe and have been symbolically compared to royal scepters, distinctive of power, and therefore called staffs of command. The burial, for its unusual richness of grave goods and types of objects, allows us to assume that the boy had a high social status." End quote. Well, there you have it, my lush business goose. Around the child was found an array of magnificent grave goods, including hundreds of pierced shells, antlers, and mammoth ivory pendants carved into anthropomorphic forms, and a flint blade that researchers believe was more symbolic of prestige. These gifts led our trio to believe 2 things. 1, he was of some importance, and 2, he was of importance to the Gravettian people. Now who the hell were they? Buckle up. Long 30,000 to 20,000 years ago, long story short, the Gravettian were exceptional hunter-gatherers who lived during a bitterly cold period in what is today all of modern Europe, stretching to Ukraine. According to Barbara Ann Kipfer's book, The Encyclopedic Dictionary of Archaeology, they were thought to have been innovative in the development of tools such as blunted back knives, tanged arrowheads, and boomerangs. Research from Gurnek Bain's work, titled Cultural DNA, The Psychology of Globalization, suggests other innovations include the use of woven nets and oil lamps made of stone. Additional discoveries of negative impressions of woven textiles and basketry have been found on fired clay fragments and ash deposits in and around hearths within cave dwellings. Ooh. There's more. We know blades and bladelets were used to make bone tools from animal remains. Animals including mammoths, hyenas, wolves, and reindeer who were the primary food sources. This is overwhelmingly impressive, but the only thing more exceptional than their ability to survive in an environment where massive ice sheets covered what is now Scandinavia, Britain, and parts of northern Germany, with a temperature similar to modern Siberia or Alaska, was their art. And there's a good probability you've seen it too. The Gravettian were well known for their small, portable Venus figurines, depicting, well, let's just say, voluptuous females with exaggerated features. Often lacking arms or feet, they were made from ivory, stone, or ceramic. My friends, her eyes are up here, usually on a faceless head topped with another familiar feature. Meticulous indents that bear similarity to the crown or the hat of shells found on the boy. The grave goods identified him from this time period, but further examination revealed a horror story. Please, unpin that pin from before. The one about how the photos were a recreation of how he was found? Well, like I briefly mentioned, that wasn't an exact recreation. And there was also a small clue about this in the translation that I read. If you still have your phone in hand, please hold on tight. What you're about to see next will be a shock. So please swipe past those recreations and a photo of a Venus figurine as well, and you'll see a side-by-side comparison of how he was actually found and how the museum staged the scene. Yeah, girl, that is one hell of an injury. Originally, from the right ear up to the top of his head, that section of his skull is missing. And when the trio found him, above and around his head were the hundreds of tiny pierced shells, suggesting that at one point they were probably strung together to cover this hole. The museum recreated this crown of sorts. Now, if we continue to focus on the side-by-side comparison, you may also notice yellow ochre or yellow pigment under the boy's jaw in the museum photo. It was there in 1942 as well, and it's believed that it was used to beautify his second injury. The right side of his jaw was completely missing. And if we look just below what remains of his jaw in both photos, those of you with a keen eye may notice a third injury that the team observed. And oh man, if you don't see anything, okay, don't feel bad. My intact business goose. Half of the boy's collarbone or clavicle is basically non-existent, meaning it's been smashed. Now, if you said to yourself, sweet, sweet non-binary Christ, what happened here? You are not alone. Since the excavation in 1942, the only medical diagnosis made was that though the boy had injuries on par with a catastrophic vehicular accident, that's just not possible, it had to be a mauling by some large animal, which, when you're a hunter-gatherer, is a high probability. The book, then, was closed on our prince, and the world said Godspeed to this presumed child of royalty. Well, up until 5 minutes ago, not everyone felt this story had been wrapped up in a neat little package. In the 2020s, researchers from the University of Cagliari, Bologna, Genova, and Montreal combined forces with other hot-for-mysteries nerds to reanalyze the boy. Published in a 2025 issue of Journal of Anthropological Sciences, the abstract of their paper stated this team's goal loud and clear. Quote, "This claim was never fully investigated. We reanalyzed the lesions and systematically examined the skeleton for additional evidence to reconstruct the manner and circumstances of death." End quote. Well, hot damn. If you're not sitting, I say pull up a seat. This is about to get even more wild. After scanning the bones of Il Principe to create three-dimensional surface models that could be scrutinized down to the millimeter, what did the new team find? Drumroll, please. Thank you in the back. Let's start with what was presumed. That the boy was attacked by a large animal. By Jove, the team in 1942 was correct. As reported by Benjamin Taub of IFL Science, the authors explain that, quote, Il Principe lacks the kind of arm and leg fractures that would be expected if he had fallen from a height, while interpersonal violence would unlikely have wiped out so much of the bone in his jaw and shoulder. Given all the hazards faced by prehistoric hunter-gatherers, therefore, an animal attack seems by far most likely the cause of these shocking injuries. End quote. The authors of the study went on to say, based on the animals that occupied northern Italy at the time, the lesions may have been the work of a brown bear, a cave bear, a leopard, or a cave lion. All horrendous options, but two truly stand out. Ursus arctos, a brown bear, or Ursus spelaeus, a cave bear, both of which I wish upon no one. According to Ye Olde Wiki, cave bears appeared around 5.3 million years ago and met their end as the climate warmed 24,000 years ago. But they were comparable in size to, or even sometimes larger than, the largest modern-day bears, measuring up to 6.6 feet in length and weighing in at like 500 to 1,300 pounds. Although their teeth suggest they were mostly vegetarian, I can only assume it's not wise to sneak up on one, especially a mama bear. Same holds true for brown bears who exist today. They can outrun any human at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour and are known to easily clock in at 1,500 pounds. I am sorry, sir, but at no age can you take one down alone with a spear. Now, we'll never know the exact circumstances that led to Il Principe face-to-face with one of these beasts, but we do know these new, frightful, unfortunate medical updates. He also suffered various additional fractures to his skull, what teeth he was left with, his neck, as well as a punctured fibula, which is the outer and usually smaller of the two bones between your knee and ankle. But most stomach-churning of all, quote, despite the facial trauma and disfiguring wounds, microscopic analysis suggests that the prince survived for a few days. End quote. From the team's study titled New Signs of Skeletal Trauma in the Upper Paleolithic Prince from Arena Candida Cave Bear Novel Insights into Circumstances of His Death. Yeah. Those bone scans reveal that the kid lived through this, feeling every ounce of pain for approximately 4 to 7 days. This is unfathomable, but it also means something else. He was cared for until he eventually succumbed to organ failure, internal hemorrhaging, and severe brain injuries. As such, the team has brought a new hypothesis to the table. Continuing from the study, quote, more recent research strongly refutes the idea that formal burials during the mid-late Upper Paleolithic were based on social standing defined by vertical or hereditary societal structures. Instead, the funerary record of the Gravettian period shows a striking overrepresentation of individuals who suffered traumatic deaths or displayed congenital pathological conditions. This pattern has led to the hypothesis that formal burial was afforded based on the necessity to ritually contain and sanction these exceptional events and exceptional people. End quote. In other words, this was no prince, per se, but he suffered greatly. And for that, he deserved everything the community could offer. Are you crying? Because I am. After the break, we are leaving the majesty of our past for the fucking majesty of space. She's been full of surprises lately, and what's next will blow you away. If you like adventure, explosions, and gold, you better stay tuned. I can explain.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Your favorite local grocery stores like Kroger, Ralph's, Fred Meyer, and more are now delivering on Uber Eats. Get 40% off your order of fresh, quality ingredients. Whether you just got home to an empty fridge or suddenly got a craving to whip up something new, you can get everything you need delivered in as little as 25 minutes. Get 40% off your order with code Kroger2026. Plus, members get $0 delivery fees. Order now on Uber Eats. Orders of $30 or more save up to $25. Ends 4/30/26. See app for details.
And we're back. We are so back. And my friends, I'm about to read you a story about a spectacular event that took place 130 million light years from Earth. It took billions of years in the making. And although the event itself only took seconds, it was captured by heroes around the world. Thanks to their collaboration and their love of things that go boom, we now know that something called kilonovas exist. Let's get into it. From the October 2017 Caltech article titled LIGO and Virgo Make First Detection of Gravitational Waves Produced by Colliding Neutron Stars, quote, for the first time, scientists have directly detected gravitational waves, ripples in space and time, in addition to light from a spectacular collision of two neutron stars. This marks the first time that a cosmic event has been viewed in both gravitational waves and light. The discovery was made using the US-based laser interferometer. What happened to my face? I don't know. I couldn't say it. Let's try that again. The discovery was made using the US-based laser interferometer gravitational wave observatory, or LIGO. We're just going with LIGO. My God. And it was funded and is funded by the National Science Foundation. Europe... This is all going downhill. The Europe-based Virgo detector and some 70 ground and space-based observatories. Nailed it. Neutron stars are the smallest, densest stars known to exist and are formed when massive stars explode in supernova. As these neutron stars spiraled together, they emitted gravitational waves that were detectable for about 100 seconds. When they collided, a flash of light in the form of gamma rays was emitted and seen on Earth for about 2 seconds after the gravitational waves. In the days and weeks following the smash-up, other forms of light, or electromagnetic radiation, including X-ray, ultraviolet, optical, infrared, and radio waves, were detected. The gravitational signal, named GW170817, was first detected on August 17, 2017 at 8:41 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The detection was made by 2 identical LIGO detectors located in Hanford, Washington, and Livingston, Louisiana. The information provided by the third detector, Virgo, situated near Pisa, Italy, enabled an improvement in localizing the cosmic event. Each LIGO observatory consists of 2 long tunnels arranged in an L shape, at the joint of which is a laser beam split in 2. Light is sent down the length of each tunnel, then reflected back in the direction it came from by a suspended mirror. In the absence of gravitational waves, the laser light in each tunnel should return to the location where the beams were split at precisely the same time. If a gravitational wave passes through the observatory, it will alter each beam's arrival time, creating an almost imperceptible change in the observatory's output signal. On August 17th, LIGO's real-time data analysis software caught a strong signal of gravitational waves from space in one of the 2 LIGO detectors. At nearly the same time, the gamma ray burst monitor on NASA's Fermi Space Telescope detected a burst of gamma rays. LIGO Virgo analysis software put the 2 signals together and determined their appearance was highly unlikely to be chance, and the rapid gravitational wave detection by the LIGO Virgo team, coupled with Fermi's gamma ray detection, enabled the launch of follow-up observations by telescopes around the world. The LIGO data indicated that 2 astrophysical objects located at the relatively close distance of about 130 million light-years from Earth had been spiraling in towards each other. It appeared that the objects were not as massive as binary black holes, objects that LIGO and Virgo have previously detected. Instead, the spiraling objects were estimated to be in a range of about 1.1 to 1.6 times the mass of the Sun, in the mass range of neutron stars. While binary black holes produce chirps lasting a fraction of a second in the LIGO's detector's sensitive band, the August 17 chirp lasted about 100 seconds. Quote within a quote, "It immediately appeared to us that the source was likely to be neutron stars, the other coveted source we were hoping to see, and promising the world we would see," end quote, says David Shoemaker, spokesperson for the LIGO Scientific Collaboration and senior research scientist in MIT's Institute for Astrophysics and Space Research. Laura Candonati, professor of physics at Georgia Tech and deputy spokesperson for the LIGO Scientific Collaboration, added, quote, "Our background analysis showed an event of this strength happens less than 1 in 80,000 years by random coincidence. So we recognize this right away as a very confident detection and a remarkably nearby source. This detection has genuinely opened the doors to a new way of doing astrophysics. I expect it will be remembered as one of the most studied astrophysical events in history." End quote. Well, there you have it, my bright business goose, the first and only known kilonova, which was detected in 2017. Thanks to the collective efforts, cooperation, and passion of hundreds of people around the world. And just to recap how kilonovas form, it all starts when a massive star, some 8 times the mass of our Sun, exhausts all form of nuclear fuel, and it's left bearing the extraordinary weight of heavy elements produced by all that fusion. This leads to a catastrophic collapse or a supernova. Now, if you're a longtime listener of the show, then you know the core that's left behind can form one of 2 things. One being the densest object in the universe, a black hole, or 2, the second densest object, a neutron star. That means the collapse was so intense, the space between electrons and protons disappears, and they fuse, forming neutrons. What remains is a core, a few miles long, but still contains so much mass that a teaspoon of it alone contains a mass of about 1 billion tons. Now, in the case of GW170817, our first kilonova, two neutron stars were in their final moments of orbiting each other. They were only separated by about 300 kilometers or 200 miles and gathering speed while closing the distance between them. According to that same article, as the stars spiraled faster and closer together, they stretched and distorted the surrounding space-time, giving off energy in the form of powerful, powerful gravitational waves before smashing into each other. At that moment of collision, the bulk of the two neutron stars merged into one ultra-dense object, emitting a fireball of gamma rays and light. And the light-based observations showed that heavy elements, such as lead and gold, are created in these collisions. So if you're wearing gold right now or you're plundering some, you can thank two neutron stars for their sacrifice. Now, what if I told you this is only part of the story? What if I told you there's another type of kilonova? If you're a long-time listener of this show, then you're probably not surprised. Nature never seems to color in the lines. She is full of surprises. Case in point, AT 2025 ULZ. Let's get into it. Quote, "At first, for about 3 days, the eruption looked like the first kilonova in 2017, said Caltech's Mansi Kasliwal, professor of astronomy and director of Caltech's Polymer Observatory near San Diego. Quote, "Everybody was intensely trying to observe and analyze it, but then it started to look more like a supernova, and some astronomers lost interest. Not us." End quote. My friends, that quote was from Caltech's December 2025 press release, and the explosion Mansi was talking about was first noticed in August of 2025. And boy howdy, it and the events that followed were all too familiar. The twin detectors of LIGO in Louisiana and Washington, as well as Virgo in Italy, picked up a new gravitational wave signal, and within minutes, both teams sent an alert to the astronomical community with a heads up saying, y'all, I think we have new gravitational waves, and they've been registered from what appears to be a merger between two objects. And one of them is really tiny and cute. This "Hey you up girl" message caught the attention of the team over at the Zwicky Transient Facility, a sexy survey camera at Polymer Observatory. It was the first to pinpoint a rapidly fading red object, 1.3 billion light-years away, in the same location as the source of the gravitational waves. With this data to go on, about a dozen other telescopes, including the Keck Observatory in Hawaii and the Fraunhofer telescope at the Wendelstein Observatory in Germany, nailed it, jumped at the chance to join in on the late-night fun and make their recordings as well. With a multitude of eyes on this region of space, the researchers saw the following. Quote, "Observations confirmed that the eruption of light had faded fast and glowed at red wavelengths, just as GW 170817 had done 8 years earlier. In the case of that kilonova, the red colors came from heavy elements like gold. These atoms have more electron energy levels than lighter elements, so they block blue light, but let the red light pass through. Then, days after the blast, AT 2025 ULZ started to brighten again, turning blue and showing hydrogen in its spectra. All signs of a supernova, not a kilonova." End quote from the press release. Yes, my friends, the international community let out a collective sigh. 'Twas only a supernova, alas. But Mansi and her team, they weren't having it. At the very top of the show, I mentioned that they brought up a very good point. Supernova from distant galaxies are generally not expected to generate enough gravitational waves to be detected by LIGO and Virgo. Something weird was going on here. And so, Mansi and the gang immediately packed into their mystery machine and got to snooping. Basically, AT 2025 ULZ didn't exactly fit the only kilonova reference astronomers had to go on, and it didn't look like the average supernova either. That's when they had a eureka moment. What if it's both? With what data the team had, they were certain the gravitational waves were created by a binary system where at least one of the neutron stars in the merger was less massive than our sun. And you may need to sit for this. But for something like that to exist, a rapidly spinning massive star has to go supernova, but instead of producing one neutron star the size of a major city, it splits into two tinier subsolar neutron stars. So instead of one star, the size of San Francisco, think two stars, the size of Pittsburgh. And these fraternal twin cities are horrendously close to one another, swirling faster and faster, inching ever so closer until they merge. It is possible, according to these theories proposed by Mancy and co-author Brian Metzger of Columbia University, a supernova may have birthed twin baby neutron stars that then merged to make a kilonova. The team calls this event a superkilonova. And right now, it's only a wild theory. To prove it, they need to look for more explosions that combine a much brighter, longer, and more complex light show than a typical kilonova, and also produces supernova energy plus kilonova radioactive decay. That's it. Easy peasy. That's all I have to do. And you know what? I'm sure they're going to do it. And thank you for listening, rating, subscribing, following, telling your friends about that kid. Oh God, that poor kid just mauled to death 27,000 years ago. And that'll make your friends cry. And then say, you know, it's okay. He got this burial just to make it feel all better. And then they're going to cry even more. Oh man, okay, you know what? Don't tell them. Tell them about superkilonovas, which might make them cry because of the terrible power behind it. Oh God. And a bellowy thanks to the folks over at Airwave Media, the podcast network to which WTI belongs. If you love this show, and you do, you love the other podcasts in this family. And please, stay interesting.